Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to another edition of Building on a Budget, where we take inexpensive competitive decks to give players a chance to get into the game at a pretty low cost. Today we're going to look at a deck revolving around a Pokemon from the brand new set XY Primal Clash, and that's going to be Medicham. Now, if you'll take a look at Medicham, it is extremely unimpressive. Calm Mind heals 30 damage from this Pokemon. It only has 90 HP. That's not very good. Yoga Kick, 30 damage? How can we build a deck around this? Well, it all comes back to this, I believe it's ancient trait, Omega Barrage. So this little box up here that says, this Pokemon may attack twice a turn. If the first attack knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon, you may attack again after your opponent chooses a new active Pokemon. So basically, we're going to try to use Yoga Kick twice in a turn. Now still, that's not very impressive. Yoga Kick only does 30 damage, but there are many ways to alter that damage so that it does more damage. For example, we have Strong Energy. You can only put it on fighting Pokemon, but it makes your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage. And now, well, if you just have one Strong Energy attached, at least you're doing 50 damage for each Yoga Kick. So now instead of the 30 and 30, it's doing 50 and 50. But there's even more. We could use something like a Silver Bangle to do 30 more damage to a Pokemon EX. Okay, if we do that now, Yoga Kick is doing 80 damage. Okay, 80 and 80. 160 total damage. Well, that doesn't sound so bad. Non-EX Pokemon for 2 energy hitting for 160 damage. You know, it's still short of a one-hit knockout on most EXs, though. So we need one extra step, and that is Fighting Stadium. So the attacks of each fighting Pokemon in play do 20 more damage to the defending Pokemon EX. Alright, so let's recap here. We have Yoga Kick starting at 30 damage. A Strong Energy makes that 50. A Silver Bangle makes that 80. A Fighting Stadium makes that 100. So now 100 twice is 200 damage for 2 energy on this little Medicham. The power of math, folks. So we can get one-hit knockouts with this Medicham, taking a 30 damage Yoga Kick all the way up to 200 damage in one attack. And you know, it's not that unreasonable. Strong Energy, Silver Bangle, and a Fighting Stadium. That's all you need. Now you could also do a Muscle Band. These run a little bit more on the expensive side, so we only have 2 of these in this budget deck. But it does plus 20 damage against anything. So even with the Strong Energy, Muscle Band, and Fighting Stadium, now Yoga Kick's doing 90 damage per hit, and that means 180 damage. And that's pretty good. 180 is going to knock out almost every Pokemon EX besides the Mega Pokemon, and of course Wailord EX, but we're not too worried about that. Alright, so that's the strategy. Try to power up Medicham, get one-hit knockouts with your little guy. That's pretty much it. Now we have a supporting cast. We'll run through the rest of the deck as well. First one's going to be Hawlucha. So Hawlucha is this great fighting Pokemon. Flying Press does 60 to an opponent's Pokemon EX. Nothing against the non-EX, so keep that in mind. But just for 1 energy, can dish out a lot of damage. It can use all those same damage modifiers that Medicham can. The Strong Energy, Silver Bangle, Muscle Band, Fighting Stadium. It can use all of them. Also has Shining Spirit, so the attacks aren't affected by weakness or resistance. So it's going to be helpful against things that are resistant to fighting, such as Yveltal EX and Lugia EX. So Hawlucha, just a great simple attacker to include in any fighting deck. Landorus, another nice Pokemon to throw in here, has Shout of Power, 20, and then you get to take a basic energy from your discard pile, attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. This is very useful, you know, after a Medicham gets knocked out, you might not have 2 energy ready to go, and then you can just, you know, put a fighting on here, Shout of Power, do a little bit of damage, and then power up a Medicham on the bench. It's a nice energy accelerator while dishing out a little bit of damage. We're also going to be playing Mr. Mime. A lot of things in this deck have low HP, so bench damage can hurt quite a bit. Mr. Mime's bench barrier prevents all damage done to your benched Pokemon by attacks, so he's just going to sit on the bench the whole time and put up a wall and make sure your bench is completely safe. Now there's another cool little combo we can do in here, and it actually involves Meditite. What? How does that work? Meditite, he just does smack for 20. It just eats one berry a day. That's completely unimpressive and boring. But 1 energy, 20. Okay. Well, we have Medicham. Can use... it just says this Pokemon may attack twice a turn. It doesn't say which attack it has to use twice a turn, which means we can use Celebi EX and Time Recall. Each of your evolved Pokemon can use any attack from its previous evolutions. So, okay. Say we only have 1 energy. Well, we can actually use Time Recall. Omega Barrage still applies to Meditite's Smack. Now, again, just 20 damage, but let's do the math again. 20, 40 with the Strong Energy, 70 with the Silver Bangle, 90 with the Fighting Stadium, and all of a sudden, for a Strong Energy, just a single energy, we can smack for 90 damage twice and knock out a Pokemon EX in one hit with Meditite's Smack. How awesome is that? Alright, so we have all sorts of options here. Mainly we're going to use Yoga Kick, but you have the option with Time Recall to smack twice in a turn. I think that is one of the coolest things in the game right now. For new players, I want to stress the importance of your trainer cards. This is really the heart of your deck. I tried to keep a nice balance between competitive cards and inexpensive cards, but there are some sort of expensive cards you do need to run in every deck. The cards we're going to be playing in here, Karina, great in the fighting decks. Search for a fighting Pokemon and an item card. Just incredible. Gives you great consistency, allows you to find your Pokemon, find an item card, and there are all sorts of item cards we can take advantage of. Professor Sycamore, you'll see 4 of these, or Professor Juniper, they do the same thing in every deck. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. This is just the most efficient draw card there is. Drawing 7 cards is amazing. So 4 of those pretty much every single time. Now this deck has 2N. We see most decks running 4 of these, but these run a little bit on the pricier side. So we're only going to be playing 2 in this deck. Each player shuffles in their hand and then draws a card for each remaining prize card. So early on gives you 6 cards, later on gives you less cards, but it can disrupt your opponent after they've taken a large amount of their prize cards. To replace the other 2N, we're going to be running the pretty plain Shauna. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 5 cards. You could also run the new Professor Birch's Observations. Shuffle in, you flip a coin. If heads, draw 7. If tails, you only draw 4. But in this case, I think we're just going to go for the simple Shauna. It's a little more straightforward for our purposes here. Now we also have 2 Lysander, a very important card to pull one of your opponent's benched Pokemon up to the active spot. Target down the Pokemon you want to knock out. This is another card you'll see in pretty much every deck. Just such a strong effect. And then we also have 3 VS Seeker. Allows you to put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. Makes it just a very versatile card. Can get back any of your supporters. If you need another Professor Sycamore, do that. Need another Lysander, do that. I mean, it's just amazing what this card can do for your deck. We'll see most decks, again, running this card in high numbers of them at that. Now let's take a look at some of the item cards we have in here. Ultra Ball, another card you'll see in pretty much everything. Discard 2 cards and search your deck for a Pokemon. A card I enjoy in this deck is Repeat Ball. So you get to search your deck for a Pokemon with the same name as one of your Pokemon in play, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So what's cool about this, say you have a Meditite out already, you have a Repeat Ball, you can grab another Meditite. I like it especially with Karina. Say you just have a Meditite in play. You can Karina for a Medicham and a Repeat Ball. So then you can get another Meditite and another Medicham. But since we run multiple copies of pretty much all of our fighting Pokemon here, Repeat Ball is going to be good a lot of the time. And I like the fact that you don't have to discard to use it. So I do enjoy playing that card in this deck. Maybe you don't. That's up to you. We also have Switch. Pretty standard card. You just switch your active. Escape Rope, a little bit trickier. Each player switches their active Pokemon with one of their benched Pokemon. Of course, that player gets to choose. It's not like Lysander, so keep that in mind. Professor's Letter is a great item card, especially with Karina. If you need an energy card, grab Professor's Letter. Search for 2 basic energy cards, and there you go. Start powering up your Pokemon. Now, since this is a budget deck, I went a little lighter on the A-Spec card. For this deck, we're going to be playing Life Dew. It's a Pokemon tool. If it's attached to your Pokemon, when it gets knocked out, your opponent takes one fewer prize card. Now, most decks will be running something like Computer Search or maybe Dowsing Machine. Those cards tend to be a little more expensive, though, so I'm opting to go for the Life Dew. Could be a fun card to play. Other cheap A-Spec cards could be something like Master Ball, perhaps, or maybe a Rock Guard, or even a Scoop Up Cyclone, or a Scramble Switch. There are lots of A-Spec cards. Computer Search and Dowsing Machine happen to be the most expensive ones, so Life Dew costs maybe like $1 or $2, so that's why it's in here. Computer Search, on the other hand, could run as high $15 to $20. Oof. You don't want to pay that for just one card if you're trying to make a cheap deck here. All right. For the energy, we just have the 4 strong energy, 7 fighting energy, and of course, you're probably curious, how much would this deck cost to build? Well, if you wanted to buy all 60 cards from scratch, buy them off of a website right now, this deck would cost you about $50 or $60. That's buying all 60 cards. That's a pretty good deal when you think about it. I mean, $50 or $60 might sound like a lot of money, but keep in mind you're buying all 60 cards. That's not a bad deal. And especially when you think about the Pokemon by themselves, probably will cost you about $15, somewhere in that range. And the Celebi EX would be the one that costs the most, probably about $7 or $8. So if you cut out the Celebi, the deck would be even cheaper, but I like having this in here. Why is the deck so expensive then? Well, cards like N and Muscle Band happen to be a little more expensive than your average trainer card, but if you go to a Pokemon League, they actually do give these out as promo cards. So be sure to check out a local Pokemon League. If you're just starting up, this could be a good way to get some of these staple cards that are a little cheaper to find if you can get them as a league promo. So here we have it, the Medicham deck. I do think this deck is a lot of fun. It was plenty of fun to try out on Pokemon TCG Online, and, well, let's go ahead and play a game with it here. Going up against Tall T Joey on PTCGO, and we'll see if we can show off the strategy here against what looks like a very scary Yveltal deck. Now, on paper, you would say an Yveltal deck probably should beat a fighting deck almost every time, but we have a pretty good shot against it, I think. So my opponent opens up with that Yveltal EX, and I just have poor little Meditite, only 50 HP, but we'll start off with the Karina in this situation, and we'll grab Medicham with the Karina, and also we can get an item card. So I think in this situation I don't have another supporter card, so I'll just go with the VS Seeker instead. Get that into my hand. I have a strong energy, and Yveltal EX can't really attack on the first turn, so we'll be a little aggressive here. Put the strong energy on the active, and then pass the turn. You see I have a lot of different Pokemon tools in my hand. Why didn't I put one down? Well, I'm just kind of waiting, right? My opponent could leave this Yveltal EX active. In that case, I might want to go with the Silver Bangle. We could see a regular Yveltal come out. That's not an EX, so I might want to go with the Muscle Band. And I might be in danger of being knocked out, so I might want to go with the Life Dew. I don't know which one I want to do, so we'll just hold on for now. Sometimes you can be a little patient with things like this. So with that Yveltal EX in the active spot, if we could find like a fighting stadium next turn, or even another strong energy, we could possibly knock out this Yveltal EX in one hit. Well, in 2 hits technically, but 1 turn of attacking, and that's kind of what we're going for with this deck. So we do see the regular Yveltal coming out, and oh no, we see a switch, the Hypnotoxic Laser Burbank City Gym. So if my opponent just has a Darkness Energy, we could see an Oblivion Wing knockout, and that would hurt quite a bit. That would knock out Meditite first turn. That would just really be a pain, but looks like my opponent did not find that Darkness Energy and has to pass the turn after putting the double colorless energy on the benched Yveltal EX. So here I'm fortunate to draw a fighting stadium, and there are all sorts of things that could happen this turn. We do have the Ultra Ball. I could certainly get the Medicham. I think that's going to happen. It's just a matter of what cards I want to discard. I'm definitely playing Professor Sycamore this turn. So discarding N is a pretty easy choice with this Ultra Ball. But the other choice is a little more difficult. I don't know what route I want to take quite yet. I don't know if I want to commit my energy to the active Medicham this turn. So we'll actually discard the fighting energy as well. Play the repeat ball. Get the second Medicham into play. Get that down there. Bench Landers, and then Professor Sycamore for a fresh hand of 7 cards. And in this situation, wow, we drew a pretty good hand, I have to say. We have Escape Rope, so we can go ahead and play that and bring out the benched Yveltal EX. Oh, man. It's going to be pretty big. I can even bench Mr. Mime. Doesn't really hurt to put him down, but you'll see here the potential strength of a Medicham deck. Just watch this. The Fighting Energy, the Silver Bangle, and Yoga Kick. 100 damage. Doesn't apply resistance. 100 damage a second time, and bang, turn 2. We just knocked out an Yveltal EX. That's pretty silly when you think about it. 90 HP Medicham. 30 damage Yoga Kick. Somehow turn 2 knocks out an Yveltal EX with 170 HP. Doesn't seem like it should happen, but check the math. It all works out. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I mean, got a knockout turn 2 on an EX with the little Medicham. That's it still blows my mind. I'm not sure what to really make of it. But now we'll have to see how my opponent responds. If there's one thing this deck can struggle with, it's non-EX fighting resistant Pokemon like this active Yveltal. Medicham doesn't have a whole lot of HP, so you'll see here Verbank City Gym. We'll also see the Muscle Band, Hypnotoxic, Laser. I only have 60 HP left, and, between Oblivion Wing and the poison damage, like we're going to see right there, I'll get knocked out right away. So Medicham is not a very durable Pokemon. It gets knocked out pretty darn quickly, unfortunately, and it can cause some problems, but we'll find some way to deal with this, I suppose. We'll promote Hawlucha here for the free retreat, and in this situation, I'll certainly drop down the Fighting Stadium, get rid of that pesky Verbank City Gym. Play Karina, we'll grab another Metatite, get that down on the bench, and then we're absolutely going to grab the VS Seeker. Seems like the best option in this situation. Now, we're in a spot here where I could just attach an energy to Medicham and pass the turn, but instead I drew the Muscle Band, so I'm going to Shout of Power, hit for 20 damage after the Muscle Band and resistance on that Yveltal, and just get an energy on my benched Medicham. Get that powered up, ready to go. We could use another Yoga Kick in the coming turns. So here is a Crushing Hammer. It's going to be pretty devastating for this kind of a deck. It doesn't run a whole lot of energy. There's 11 energy total, so each discarded energy is annoying. And we do need 2 energy attachments to power up Medicham, so it's even more annoying in this kind of a situation. But, we'll work with it. We'll see what we can do. I don't expect Landorus to really be knocked out this turn, so we do have that going for us, I suppose. Yveltal EX gets a second Darkness energy. And there we see a Lysander, actually going to bring out my Medicham, and there's an Oblivion Wing for 50. Fortunately, I do have Switch in hand, so that's pretty nice. We can go ahead and drop that down this turn. Also, with the VS Seeker, we can grab Professor Sycamore out of the discard pile, so you can see just how strong that card is as well. I'll switch into the Hawlucha. It does have a free retreat cost. We'll bench Celebi EX. You don't know when the time recall will come in handy, so might as well put down Celebi. Can drop an energy on Medicham and then retreat into the Landorus for a Shout of Power, 20 damage. And that 20 might seem a little irrelevant, but if I can get a strong energy or another Muscle Band, I can then Yoga Kick for 50 twice against Yveltal and finish it off. So those little 20 damage hits are certainly adding up. But I feel like the way we have to win here is to knock out those Pokemon EX on the bench, right? Those give up 2 prizes. Those are the easiest path to victory. Darkrai EX and Yveltal EX are the two we'll have to deal with. I feel like we can certainly do it. You know, we definitely took down that first Yveltal EX with ease. If we can find another Silver Bangle, get another strong energy, that'll be fine. But at the moment, we don't really have any draw cards, unfortunately, just a Lysander. But we can perhaps work some magic with some, maybe some Lysander, target down the EXs, and maybe pull something out of our prize cards. So there we just see another Oblivion Wing from my opponent. Going to hit me for 50 damage and, power up Darkrai EX on the bench. In this situation, I think it's time to strike, bring up one of those EXs and see if we can do something with that. So I'm going to retreat into the Medicham. I actually completely forgot at this point that Yoga Kick does not apply weakness. My plan here was to Lysander up Darkrai and then Yoga Kick twice, but it's not affected by weakness or resistance. Oops. So instead we're going to bring up Yveltal EX, Yoga Kick for 50 twice. Was not thinking there. If I was thinking there, I probably would have used Hawlucha instead of the Medicham. It's 70 HP is more than the 40 remaining on Medicham, so a bit of a mistake there. Could end up costing me in this situation, but let's just hope for the best. We're still up a prize. My opponent largely has to take one prize at a time against my attackers, so if there's one advantage, it's that, right? They have to take way more knockouts than I will, because for every EX I knock out, I get 2 prize cards. So we see another Verbank City Gym. You can see why running so many stadiums in this deck is so important. Yoga Kick's damage output is really bad without Fighting Stadium, so playing the full 4 copies of it, definitely worth it. When you have Fighting Stadium in play, you can reach all sorts of knockouts. Without it, your attack becomes pretty bad, and you can't afford bad attacks very often when your Pokemon only has 90 HP. Alright, so here I'm going to promote the Hawlucha. Professor's Letter for the last fighting energy in my deck. I might have 1 or 2 prized, but I'm going to drop the energy on the Hawlucha after the Fighting Stadium. We'll bring out that Yveltal EX one more time and Flying Press for the knockout. And, things are looking okay. We're up 2 prizes. Sure, my opponent has that Darkrai EX, but, we could pull off some kind of shenanigans. All we really need is Muscle Band or Silver Bangle, and we can actually use the Time Recall gimmick with Meditite Smack, and we can actually knock out Darkrai with Smack. So, if we can just draw into that, I should be fine. But, never mind. We see VS Seeker for the Lysander, and he recognizes the situation he's in, so gonna say nope, no Smack nonsense here. Bring up Medicham, knock it out with a Night Spear. And it was a really good play by my opponent. So in this spot, I feel like Landorus is going to be pretty worthwhile. Going to drop the fighting energy on that. And we can Shout of Power for a pretty solid amount of damage. But let's go with the Repeat Ball. Just play that. That's not really a card I'd like to draw anymore in this game. Repeat Ball, grab another Landorus, and Shout of Power, 120 damage. And we'll power up the Meditite on the bench. Now at this point, all we need to do is hit that Darkrai with pretty much anything in my deck one more time. We could even Smack with Meditite. That's how easy a knockout would be at this point with that Fighting Stadium in play. So if this Darkrai retreats to the bench, we'll have the VS Seeker for a Lysander. We can get a knockout that way. Otherwise, I don't know, it's going to be a little tricky. If my opponent plays an N or something like that, disrupts my hand, we could be in a little bit of trouble. Celebi EX is on the bench. It gives up 2 prize cards, and we do see the N right there. So this could be a very dangerous situation in the coming turns. All right, at this point, well, let's see. My opponent, if he uses Night Spear, he loses, so we definitely won't see that. My opponent might not be able to take a prize here. Would need a Verbank City Gym and Hypnotoxic Laser with Yveltal's Oblivion Wing. Otherwise, just an Oblivion Wing for 50, and I think we're fine with that. Hitting for 50 is not going to be great in this scenario. So definitely okay with this. In this situation, I could play a Shauna or a Karina. And I think the Karina is the better move just because we can, first of all, grab Medicham. Second of all, grab the VS Seeker. And that way, if my opponent doesn't play another N, I'll just VS Seeker for Lysander and win the game. Sounds pretty good, right? So let's go ahead, just Shout of Power for 20 damage again. We'll get the fighting energy onto Medicham, just in case of Crushing Hammer or something like that. Doesn't hurt to have the energy on there, I suppose. Got a Hawlucha powered up already, so seems like the good route to go. We do see a Mewtwo EX, though. That could be problematic. Yeah, he's going to get the Muscle Band, and, oh, another N. So my opponent's slowing me down one more turn. That's a little unfortunate, but we'll see what we can do. Opponent gets a Bicycle off of the N as well. Mewtwo all powered up, and Oblivion Wing going to take the knockout. Starting to get kind of scary. Now my opponent is down to 2 prizes. You know, if I top deck a VS Seeker here, I do win the game, but no VS Seeker. That's a little unfortunate. But, okay, let's see what we can manage to pull off here. I have a Karina. Obviously, we're going to play that. Grab Landorus, and let's see. You got... Well, this might be a situation to use the Life Dew, right? If we can put the Life Dew on Celebi EX, we can take away my opponent's option to Lysander it out and win the game. So Life Dew, certainly going to be pretty useful here. Could prevent a game-winning Lysander just because of the one less prize my opponent would take. And in this spot, I think I'm going to have to do something a little weird. We're going to Yoga Kick, 70 damage. That's going to knock out that Yveltal, the perfect math. And, I wish I could play that VS Seeker, but nope. We have to attack again. You can't play any cards in between. But the important thing here is we got another Yoga Kick for 90 damage. That means a Hawlucha Flying Press can finish off Mewtwo as long as the Fighting Stadium stays in play. But, oh no, Crushing Hammer, heads on the benched Hawlucha. I was fortunate to get VS Seeker off the prize. I had no cards in hand. I was just kind of banking on the fact that if my opponent knocked out my active, I would have Hawlucha ready to go to Flying Press for the knockout just because the math would work out perfectly with that Flying Press. But, you know, after my opponent did get the Crushing Hammer heads, I am very happy to have the VS Seeker in hand. And we just see an X-Ball for 280 damage. Wow. Goodbye, Medicham. Rest in peace 3 times over. And here we go. We just need any energy to win the game, a fighting or a strong energy, and that will be it. Got the Silver Bangle to put down, the VS Seeker for the Professor Sycamore, and there we have it. Strong energy, Flying Press, 130 damage to finish off the game. And Medicham takes a game against an Yveltal Darkrai deck. So you can see it definitely has some oomph behind it. If you can get that Medicham with the strong energy and the Fighting Stadium and the Muscle Band or Silver Bangle, one-hit knockouts are possible even when you start off with a base damage of 30. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.